I used to love sitting outside, just enjoying the quiet in my garden. But somewhere along the way, something small started ruining it. You don't always see it at first, but it's there. And I didn't like relying on sprays every time I wanted to relax, especially knowing it's something we put on our skin. I just wanted my garden to feel like it used to. Then I started noticing something, just little changes at first, and over time, everything began to change. And honestly, these 9 plants might surprise you. Plant 1. Lavender. You've probably seen it before, but never really noticed it. It comes from warm, dry places, like the Mediterranean, and people have grown it for centuries because there's something in this plant mosquitoes don't like. It makes it harder for them to find you. And those same oils are used in natural repellents. So over time, you just notice fewer mosquitoes around. If you decide to grow it, give it sunlight. It prefers warm, dry conditions. It stays fairly compact, about knee-high. The biggest mistake? Too much water. So place it near where you sit or by doors and windows. For me, it changed how my garden feels. Quieter, simpler, and sometimes that's all you really need. Plant 2. Peppermint. This is probably one you already know, maybe from tea or something you've tasted before. It originally comes from Europe and parts of Asia and has been around for a very long time, even in ancient gardens. But in the garden, it becomes something more useful. Mosquitoes don't like it. It contains natural compounds like menthol, which create a strong scent that insects tend to avoid. And if you touch the leaves or gently crush them, it works almost instantly. So over time, you'll start noticing fewer insects around you. But there's one thing to know. It spreads fast, sometimes faster than you expect. It spreads through its roots, quietly moving underground. So most people grow it from cuttings rather than seeds. That's why it's better to keep it in a pot. A few pots placed around you can create a natural barrier. It grows quickly and doesn't need much care. It likes sunlight, but can also handle a bit of shade. And if you trim it often, it will keep growing fresh. For me, this is the kind of plant you just reach out and touch every time you walk by. And somehow, it makes the whole garden feel more alive. Plant 3. Lemongrass. This is one you might recognize from cooking or that fresh, clean scent. It comes from tropical regions, especially Southeast Asia, and has been used for generations in simple, everyday ways. In cooking, in home remedies, and even around the house. But in the garden, it does something really useful. Mosquitoes don't like it. It contains natural compounds like citronella, which create a strong scent that insects tend to avoid. That's why you often see it in natural repellents. And this one is different. It grows tall, sometimes waist-high or even higher. When the wind moves through it, it creates a kind of natural barrier. It loves sunlight and thrives in warm conditions. Just give it space, and it will grow strong. You can plant it along edges or around your garden like a soft border. For me, this is the kind of plant you can actually hear when the wind passes through it. And somehow, it makes the garden feel a little more alive and protected. Plant 4. Rosemary. It comes from the Mediterranean, where the air is warm and the soil stays dry. For centuries, people have grown it close to their homes, not just for cooking, but for something more. because in nature, this plant carries a quiet strength. It contains natural oils with a scent insects tend to avoid, especially when the leaves are touched or gently warmed by the sun. That's when the scent deepens and moves through the air. It grows as a small shrub, structured, tidy, easy to shape. It prefers sunlight and drier conditions, so avoid overwatering and give it space to breathe. Plant it near doorways, windows, or anywhere you like to sit outside. For me, this is the kind of plant that makes a garden feel a little more grounded. Simple, quiet, but always there. Plant 5. Lemon balm. It comes from Europe and has been known for a very long time. Later, in medieval gardens, it was often grown close to homes where people believe it brought comfort and protection. But there's something else that makes it interesting today. Mosquitoes don't like it either. It contains natural compounds like citral and citronellal, which creates a scent that insects tend to avoid. Some studies have shown that its essential oils can help repel certain insects. Not perfectly, but enough to make a difference around you. And when you touch the leaves, the scent becomes stronger. Fresh, light, but surprisingly effective. It grows low and soft, easy to keep in pots or small garden spaces. It prefers sunlight, but can handle a bit of shade. Just give it regular water and it will grow easily. You can place it near windows or where you sit in the evening. For me, this is one of those plants that feels gentle, quiet, subtle, but always does its job. Plant 6. Scented geranium. It comes from southern Africa, where the climate is warm and often quite dry. Over time, this plant developed a strong natural scent. Its leaves contain compounds like citronellal and geraniol, which are known for their fragrance. Some studies suggest these compounds can help reduce the presence of certain insects, including mosquitoes. Not completely, but enough to make a noticeable difference. Mosquitoes rely on scent to locate people, and strong plant oils like these can interfere with that process. When you touch the leaves, the scent becomes more noticeable. It grows well in pots and prefers sunlight with well-drained soil. Avoid overwatering and keep the plant in a breathable space. You can place it near windows, doors, or areas where you spend time. For me, this is a plant that fits easily into daily life. Simple, reliable, and quietly useful. Plant 7. Marigold. This is a plant many people already recognize, often used in home gardens. It originates from Central and South America and has been cultivated for generations. Over time, it became known not only for its flowers, but for how it interacts with the garden. Its roots and leaves contain natural compounds, including a group called biofenes. These compounds have been studied for their ability to affect certain insects and soil-borne pests. In particular, they are known to help reduce nematodes in the soil and limit some types of garden insects. This doesn't mean it directly repels mosquitoes, but it contributes to a healthier environment. That's why it is often planted alongside vegetables as a companion plant. It grows easily and adapts well to different conditions. It prefers full sunlight and moderate watering. As long as the soil drains well, it tends to grow consistently. You can plant it around garden beds, along pathways, or in containers. For me, this is a practical plant to include, especially in mixed gardens. Simple, easy to grow, and useful in a broader way. Plant 8. Lemon basil. This is a type of basil, but with a lighter, citrus-like scent. It is commonly grown in Southeast Asia, where it is used in both cooking and traditional practices. What makes it different is not just the taste, but the composition of its oils. Its leaves contain compounds such as citral and linalool, which contribute to its scent. These compounds have been studied for their interaction with certain insects, not as a strong repellent, but enough to make the plant less attractive to them. Like many aromatic herbs, it works by altering the scent around it, and that can make it harder for insects to locate you. When the leaves are touched or exposed to warmth, the scent becomes more noticeable. It grows quickly and does well in containers. It prefers sunlight and regular watering without letting the soil stay too wet. With basic care, it can be maintained easily. You can place it near windows, kitchen areas, or outdoor seating. For me, this is a plant that fits naturally into daily routines. Light, fresh, and quietly useful. The final plant, catnip. Most people know it as a plant that attracts cats, but in the garden, it plays a very different role. Its leaves contain a compound called nepetalactone, which gives the plant its distinctive scent. This compound has been studied for its effect on insects, especially mosquitoes. In some studies, it has shown stronger repellent activity than certain common plant-based alternatives, not by killing insects, but by affecting how they detect their surroundings. Mosquitoes rely on scent signals to find humans, and nepetalactone can interfere with that process. That's why even a small amount can make the area around the plant less attractive to them. It grows easily and adapts well to different environments. It prefers sunlight and well-drained soil. With regular watering, it tends to grow quickly. You can place it near seating areas, garden edges, or along walkways. And when the leaves are touched, the scent becomes more noticeable. Among natural options, this is one of the most effective. Not perfect, but consistently reliable and supported by research. So these are some of the plants people often grow to make their space feel a little more comfortable. If you've tried any of them, you might have noticed how subtle the difference can be. And if not, maybe it just takes one small plant to begin noticing it. Sometimes that's enough.